Good day, Year 8. Okay, so our final sonnet assessment, where we're going to tie together all the knowledge that we've put together in our table, that we've learnt from all these different poems. I think that you're going to do really well today. Let me just run through again some of the tips that I gave last lesson. Um, so, what you really want to be thinking about is some of the methods that the poet's been using, and drawing those out, as well as talking about the language. But for each paragraph, you can use my ideas for what the poet is trying to achieve. You can use these ideas here as a point, as a topic sentence for each paragraph. Please do use them as the first sentence in each paragraph if you want, and that can help you make your point. So, for example, Brooke's poetry echoes the propaganda from the war. Well, how does he do this? He uses symbolism, where he's using symbolism of Britain, of wonderful nature, nature imagery, where he talks about those lovely rivers. There's more information in the last video if you're looking for tips as well. But you should have your evidence in the table ready to go. Now, aim for a clear essay structure. Really well chosen quotations, you should have that already. Embedded quotations, so really short quotes. Try not to write like a whole bunch of lines of poem out. Clearly explained inferences, so what does that make you think? What does that make you feel, and why? You'll see in a second the paragraph framework helps you to do this. A detailed zoomed in analysis, so saying stuff about particular words. Poetic terminology used with accuracy. We're looking for, if you're talking about things, for example, like symbolism, try and use it about the right thing. Contrast, another quite easy one to talk about. Mention that when you actually see some contrast. Clear sentence structure, definitely coming along. Develop paragraphs, relevant links to the context the poems were written in. So you can mention that the one poet, for example, Brooke, you can mention how he was younger and more optimistic at the start of the war, and you could mention also, by contrast, how these two poets, Sassoon and Owen, were much less positive, much more weary by the end of the war, and so they had a more negative view of it. Links back to the question throughout, so at the end of each paragraph you link back. Technically accurate writing, thoughtful ideas. Okay, so other subject terminology, you could mention figurative language, sound imagery, especially in Sassoon's poetry, we looked at Wilfred Owen with the sound of the guns, sensory language, anything that helps our senses to be used, descriptions of sights, sounds, smells, tastes, so definitely sort of the smell and the noise of the battlefield, word classes, structural features. So there's also some tips here that you can use for words that will help you to write your point, but I've already got those if you want. If you're not going to use them, that's fine. You could say so-and-so presents war as, or so-and-so creates the impression that war is, because through their use of, the use of something suggests that, and then you can use these synonyms of emphasis, so the alliteration underlines, the use of this highlights something. So please do link the context as well. This reflects the fact that, or the context of, since this person was at the start of the war, since this person had had such a terrible time in war and was campaigning to end the war earlier, this perhaps explains why they think this. Okay, so let me just quickly show you a framework for a paragraph. This is pretty similar to before, but I just want to make clear when you're writing it, there's bits that you want to delete. So, poet's name, don't write poet's name, just put the name of the poet. So you could say, Brooke makes us think something. What does he make us think? With their use of, this is achieved by the description of, and this is where you say what it is, you summarise what they're describing as something. Find a short quote from your evidence table, so achieved by the description of a corner of the battlefield as, include the quote, and then select one of these. Don't just write we feel, imagine, understand, learn. You need to choose, do you feel this? Do you imagine it? Are you meant to understand something, or are you meant to learn something? So choose one of these. That war is because they have used explain the method, that's where the methods are helpful. Furthermore, and then you can add another quote. It's great for each one. You've got 2 quotes in your evidence table, I'm sure, for each poem. Furthermore, repeat with another quote, so the same cycle. Therefore, and this is where you link back to the question, so and so has shown us that war is, end your paragraph with full stop. So there's your framework. Here's the 3 paragraphs that you're going to write one about each poem. If you finish off the introduction, whilst Brooke presents war in a heroic light, sonnets written a few years later, such as Anthem of Doom Youth by Owen and Dreamers by Sassoon, encourage us to consider. So by contrast, Brooke, who wants us to think that war is great, what do they think, what do they make us consider about war? So just finish off the introduction, and then off you go. Alright, good luck, Year 8. Please ask me for questions, I can help you with quotes.